Hey, my name's Anthony O'Connell. I'm a man with a high voice and a podcast. We do a feast or pass, rate it 1 to feast, great dining experiences, and more. Dan Eaton is a journalist. He's been writing about restaurants for over 15 years. A friend claims to not like pizza. Dan talks about how restaurants can have great food, a great backstory, and still fail. Is fine dining carryout worth it? Should restaurants charge customers that order water and add their own MIO? 3 must-try Columbus, Ohio restaurants, and more. Super casual Taco Bell, feast or pass. And if you need to separate it between sober Dan and drunk Dan, I understand.
No, not in this case. This is feast. I also had this. I haven't had it in a while. I kind of went away from it. My wife is not a fan, so that has somewhat impacted my consumption of Taco Bell. But the other night I stopped and had I forget what they're promoting now. It's like a crunch wrap thing. I was curious about it, so I had that, and I realized it's basically the chili cheese burrito, but in a different geometric shape. So that's a feast. I do too. It's very simple, very satisfying.
So now we're going to get into the 1 to feast. It's like a scale of 1 to 5, but instead of 5, we say feast. We have fun here. Chicken wings, 1 to feast.
This is going to be controversial.
Oh no!
I'm going to do 2.
Whoa!
So 2 evolutions. Like number 1, I actually don't like having my hands get dirty. So eating chicken wings has always been a slightly stressful situation for me because I don't like my fingers being dirty. Weird quirk. I can get through it, But the invention of the boneless wing has just allowed me to be lazy, and there's more breading on it. I mean, they are breaded. So, and I actually tend to like that breading that holds the sauce actually a little more than the meat a lot of times. And I'm also a big cauliflower wing person. So I would rank both boneless wings and cauliflower wings over regular chicken wings probably 9 out of 10 times. So
that's fair, man. Now, are you a ranch or a blue cheese guy?
Blue cheese.
Blue cheese. Yeah, me too. But I'm not anti-ranch. Like I think it's fine. It gets a bad rap. Which, do you have any theories on that? I was actually considering doing like a YouTube video on the history of ranch because it's always like weirdly, people either love it or hate it. It's so strange to me. I find that really interesting.
I wonder, not to get too heady about this. I don't even know if it's a taste thing. I wonder how much of it is a cultural thing. Because I was about to make a joke, like, dude, I'm from Ohio. Like, I eat ranch dressing, and it's like ranch is such a go-to joke about Midwesterners, or people of maybe lower economic or social stature. But I like ranch. I eat ranch with pizza sometimes. Get a craving for that.
Yeah, and the thing is too is like with pizza, I think that's a people, at least on my Instagram, people get upset with me when I dip my pizza in ranch. But you only YOLO once, so I'm gonna dip away, baby.
I am too. Hey, Mikey's ranch is one of their like go-to sauces. A lot of people offer ranch as a sauce to dip pizza in. It's not that weird.
So I have a friend, this is a very unpopular food opinion. She claims to not like pizza. And I say claims because I just find it hard to believe because there's different crust levels, thicknesses, thinness, like different toppings. I just can't believe that. What do you think of that? Not liking pizza? Is it possible?
I don't believe it. Yeah. I am skeptical of that person. So
yeah.
Now I guess, because I describe certain foods a lot of times this way. It's like, I don't necessarily crave it. So like I would eat it, but that's certainly not pizza. Like I like pizza and often want pizza, but maybe it's that for him where it's not so much that he doesn't like it. It's just that he never really wants it, but every now and then he'll have pizza and it will be good. But I'm skeptical of a blanket, like I don't like pizza.
Yeah.
Like I know people who have pretty bad, allergies or lactose intolerance issues. So they have to have a real basic pizza and they still like pizza.
Right. I think they're just trying to be quirky and fun. I think they're trying to be interesting.
He's the guy who doesn't like pizza. That's his thing.
I'm talking about him on the podcast. So, do you have any unpopular food opinions yourself?
Man, I thought as you brought this up, I thought you might ask that, and I don't. Let me think. One that comes to mind. I'm not a big sweet potato guy. Like I don't dislike it, but that's almost a perfect example of what I was talking about, where it's like I'm almost never in the mood for sweet potatoes. Like I will have them and they're fine. But people, particularly like sweet potato fries, it seems like people are like, oh, sweet potato fries, man, they're the best. And I'm like, I would rather just have regular fries.
Oh, me too.
I don't want sweet potato fries. But people seem to disproportionately really like sweet potato fries. So I don't know if that's controversial. My chicken wing opinion may be, like you said, somewhat controversial on that. I'm just down on chicken wings. They kind of gross me out in a lot of ways. I don't know if I had prepped a little better, I could probably come up with some more. Oh, here's one. This is a location specific one. How familiar are you with Ohio University?
Not very.
Okay. Well, there's a very popular Mexican place there called Casa that everybody loves. And I just don't. And that is very controversial amongst OU people. I won't go into details. People can have their things. There's a lot of charm to it, but I have just, even dating back to my college days, have just never really been a fan. And that is very unpopular amongst OU Athens people. So.
Would you say it's the main issue is with the food or the service or the vibes and ambiance, or maybe a little everything?
It's a little bit of everything for me. Like, I'm not, and I haven't been back in years, and it has like its quirky kind of college town charms, and I think that's a lot of why people like it. But it's just, it's kind of a little bit of everything. It's just, I will admit, it's not for me. And they do very well. They're very beloved. They do not need my business. They will get along just fine.
So on the positive side, what would you say creates an amazing dining experience to you?
The best dining experiences have all of it, right? They have the good food. They have a good environment. They have good service. You can still have a good experience if one of those things isn't hitting, but the very best, kind of hit on all those things. And it doesn't even necessarily mean, fancy. Like, there's a lot of great food trucks, and part of the experience is like being at the truck and sitting down at a picnic table and that type of environment. So it's not it's just that whoever's doing what they do, that they do it well in the way that they do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think all of that is important, but I would like to add that I think the company you're with is very important. Like,
Yeah.
with a really good friend, or like you with your wife or whatever, like with someone that you love and care about, it's just fun to chat. And like sometimes even if you go to a bad restaurant, but you're with a funny friend, you can kind of like roast the place and just have a good time in that regard. So.
Well, that's absolutely 100%. And there are times where you can have certainly related to that, you can have a bad experience where it's not the restaurant's fault at all. Like, they're hitting on everything, but your company either isn't good or maybe someone else in the restaurant, it's an irritating experience for whatever reason. So certainly the company you keep is important as well. I think about the same things with movies. Sometimes I think you enjoy like a movie or a TV show maybe a little more depending on who you're sharing it with, or music, or like a concert. I guess it applies to lots of things. Whereas if you're by yourself, it's a different experience from being with people you like.
Hey, just wanted to say thank you so much for listening so far. If you're liking it, please subscribe, tell a friend. If you're loving it, please give us a 5-star review. So since you do this for a living, whereas because I always tell people I'm not a food critic, I'm a food fan, and I like those things that I love and whatever. But being that you have to go there with a little bit more of like a studious approach, or like a career oriented approach, how does that affect your dining out?
You know what? Actually, it doesn't affect it that much. I can get to some examples in a second, but one of the nice things when I describe my job to people is, one of the nice things is not being a food critic. I cover the business side, so that's fairly straightforward. This place opened, this place closed. Here's something interesting or different that this business is doing, and this is why. That's a lot of what I do. But I never actually, even though I'm a human who likes to eat, so I have my own internal opinions on food. Like, I never have to professionally share those opinions, which is nice because it helps maintain relationships. So, it does. There are, I run into the thing more where it's not necessarily the restaurant or the food, but like, depending on my relationships with people, like, I will be driven to go to, like, I like to, just as even as a person, there's also the professional aspect for me where I like to support the businesses that I cover. And the flip side is, frankly, there are some that maybe I don't have the best relationships with, and I just don't go to those, So it's not that different from a personal. My professional relationship isn't that much different from a personal relationship, in that, you go where you feel comfortable and see the people you have good relationships with, and
So do you feel like you have good like closing radar? Meaning a lot of restaurants fail and you're on the business side. Do you feel like you know when a restaurant's gonna fail?
I do. I actually do. Certainly not always right, but one of the anecdotes I usually share is that when I'm talking to a business owner, a restaurant owner, and if they're so focused on the food and they have a backstory about, oh, I just make the best whatever, and I decided to get in the restaurant industry, like that's such a red flag to me.
Really?
Well, it doesn't mean that they don't know the business, but I find, because again, I ask business questions in interviews, and you just get the vibe from people sometimes that they're not that they don't have good intentions going in it, but they don't understand some of the business aspects, and that's often that's what's going to bring them down. Like, they can have the best food in the world, if they don't know how to run a restaurant, they're probably not going to make it.
Yeah.
So that's where that kind of radar comes in, is writing about food businesses for 15 years. You There's a lot of similar backstories, and even if you have that backstory, it doesn't mean you can't be successful. It's just that when it sounds like when someone comes across like they don't grasp the business aspects of it, then they probably don't grasp the business aspects of it, and that's always a worry for me. Sometimes I talk to people, I'm like, oh, I come out of the interview thinking, oh, I hope this works out for them. you know
And then it's
so
extra
and,
hard.
and I'm wrong sometimes. I've and there have been places that I thought would absolutely be successful that have also like failed, and some of them failed kind of massively. But I think I have a decent. I'm probably right more often than I'm wrong. I feel confident saying that.
It's so unfortunate that the passion doesn't really matter. Like it's cool and the food probably will taste better, but if you don't have the business side and the marketing side down, you probably are going to fail. Like that's unfortunate, but it sounds true.
Yeah, well, and that's sometimes there's because there's a romanticism about like food and restaurants, right? And there in and I would extend this. I cover beer too, and there's this dynamic in like the craft beer world as well. Whereas sometimes people or businesses are looked down upon because they're not in it for the right reasons, man. Because they're in it to make money,
Right.
and they know what they're doing, and that doesn't mean they can't be good at their jobs, but that is sometimes I think there's a little bit of romance in the person who's like slaving away and making this wonderful food and really getting by, but doing it the right way. And then if you're too polished and too corporate, even if you're not corporate, but if you come across as like too polished and too corporate, or too business savvy, frankly, I think that's the underlying thing, is that there are some people that are just like, "Oh, I don't like that place." That's almost looked down upon in some ways. Or it happens when smaller places in Columbus get to be a point where they're more professional or more polished. Like, there's inevitably the quote unquote haters that are like, I liked it better back in the day. When those people that own the business were probably fearing every day for their livelihood.
Right. Sure.
So,
You
behind the
also
scenes, but back when they were the cool place. So.
so do you have an example of like a really, really just amazing dining experience that just like blew your socks off?
Um, this is a recent one. It's the one time, the one time we have my wife and I have gone out to dinner inside a place during the pandemic, and we went out to the refectory. So again, I kind of wish I had a better answer, but the reason we went to that place is it's a place we've been to before, and it's a place we trust, not just to sort of operate in the best ways during this quarantine and these weird times we're in, but it's just an indulgent experience, with like everything you get is going to be well done, and there's just this professional touch, and you're just cared for there, and attended to, in a way that you should for a place like that. I don't expect every place, I don't expect Chipotle to treat me like that, obviously, but we wanted an experience like that, and so we went there, and it's multiple courses, and they have a wonderful sommelier who is a real deal, like super honored in the industry, and you can have that conversation where it's like, oh, we kind of like this, and he just comes in and like, well, try this, try that, and it's experiential. It's not just getting a meal, like you're having communication with your servers and your sommelier, and they're enhancing the experience with their knowledge. But that's a bit that's a bit on the ridiculous scale, because it's certainly not a place you're gonna go to regularly.
You gotta
But
treat yourself, man.
yeah, I agree.
You know what's funny to me about like a place like the refectory, for example, is the experience is so crucial to that price point. Meaning, if it was only carry out only, I would never tell
Mhm.
anyone to go there. Like, if you have to wait, like even if it's only 25% capacity, I feel like you have to dine in there. Like, carry out would be delicious, but you know what I mean. It's not going to be the same coming out of a plastic box and then you're drinking your
Mhm.
bullshit wine at home. Like, you have to eat dine in there. Would you agree with that?
I now we did do some carry out from them, and I think they did an okay job at trying. You don't get the experience, obviously, but the quality of food is there. I would actually say, if people were curious about the refectory, that might not be a bad way to try it, because the food alone is less expensive than going there and like getting wine, and you do miss out on a big part of the experience. But if you were curious just from a food standpoint, that the carry out there, or other places, is a good way to maybe kind of dip your toes into trying something that you've wanted to try, or haven't, obviously conceding that you can't um, replicate the experience in your home. So
What about the opposite end, the worst? Do you have like a worst dining experience that comes
I
to mind?
I do. I will not name the restaurant, because it is still operating in Columbus. And I may have even told you this story before. Like, this is just like, it just stands out as just the worst. And it wasn't a food issue. It was like a classic like service issue. So I went to a place a few years ago. It was new. We were there. There were six of us, three couples, and I ordered a dish off the menu. And the waiter goes away, and but by the time he comes back with everyone's food, he has everyone's order right but mine. He gives me the wrong food, the wrong dish. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this isn't what I ordered. And he looked at me like I'm an idiot and says, yes, you did. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And then I say the dish that I ordered. I'm not sharing the dishes, because it was an exotic. It was like an exotic meat, so I think it could if it could potentially give the place away if I shared it. But anyway, so I'd ordered some odd thing that was on their menu, and the guy was like, no, you didn't order that, because we are out of that. And I'm like, well, I ordered it and you didn't tell me you were out of it.
Right.
And then one of my other friends at the table was like, that's what he ordered. I heard him say that. And then the waiter like gave me just the meanest look and just stormed off, like no other comment, just like stormed off. So I'm like, all right, this is weird. And I was mad, so I'm like, well, I don't want this dish, like, and I don't want and finally, like, and it took the manager like too long to come over. The first of all, we never saw the waiter again. He disappeared. Like, like, he never came back to our table.
Why would
And
you
I
do
was trying
that?
I was trying to be respectful about it. Like, I was angry, but I wasn't like calling him names or anything. I was just like, I was more angry at the argument, not that they were out of it or that he screwed up the order. It's just that he was so insistent that that wasn't what I ordered. And the manager comes over and was like, can we make you anything else? And at this point, I'm like, my friend, everyone else is almost done eating. Like, no, I do not want any more food. And then, like, to quote, like, I'm not trying to get anything out of this, right? I just like want a base level of like acknowledgement. And they to make things right, they just did not charge me for the food I did not eat. They didn't pick up the other part of the tab. They didn't do anything other than not charge me for food. And they're like, oh yeah, we're not charging you for that. And I'm like, oh, the food I didn't eat.
I didn't
Thank you
want
for not charging me for that. So, and I have not been back I've been back to that place once, and they also screwed up my order.
even if the customer did order the wrong thing, it's a pointless argument. Just apologize and say, "What can I get you?" Like, and also,
Yeah.
I don't understand why they took it so personally. Like, because to me, it sounds like you were very polite and you're a nice guy. So I'm sure you were polite. You weren't being
Yeah. Yeah.
nasty.
I
So
mean, I wasn't happy, but I was trying to be like an adult about it.
you shouldn't have to eat something that you don't want to. Like, I think that's an unreasonable request. And I think you mentioned something very important is acknowledgement. I think customers love acknowledgement.
Mhm.
Like, I'm a silly idiot server and I would forget people's stuff all the time and I would just tell them the truth. I wouldn't even blame it on the kitchen. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. And they would usually laugh. Like, they'd be so shocked by my honesty. So this guy could have just accepted the L, apologized, but then he had to make it weird and storm off. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah. It was, and a friend of mine ended up writing. I was not I've never been a Yelper. I've never actually liked it. For a lot of, I think, obvious reasons, that some of the problems with it. But one of my friends who was with us that night was a Yelper and left them just a brutal review, just an absolutely brutal review on my behalf. I didn't ask him to do it. He felt compelled to. But
That's cool. He defended your honor. I'm
yeah. And that's one of the times that I, because look, you were a server. I was a busboy at a restaurant that had some serving duties. I worked fast food. Like I've done jobs in the food industry, and customers can be awful.
Oh
right?
yeah,
They can be brutal. They can be just horrible and demanding, and
they don't have any power in their real lives, so they try to project it onto you, a person who's beneath them. So they just
yeah.
maybe their wife hates them, maybe their boss is a jerk, whatever, and so they go out to eat and they're like, I have power now, I'm going to make this guy's life a living hell.
Can I ask you a quick
Yeah,
question?
of course.
Have you ever had someone do the move where they put like the stack of ones on the table and then like take one away every time they feel
Oh yeah.
that you have done, that you've seen? Because I yeah, that's the worst. Those people are the worst.
So it was actually a two-top of like stereotypical Manhattan businessmen, suits. And here's the funny part, spoiler alert, they split the bill and the guy puts like a 20 down on the table. And then like, I don't know what happened, but then all of a sudden there was like 15 on the table. He took the 20 away, put a 10 and a 5. And I'm thinking like, what the hell happened? And he's like, oh, the busser brought us bread, but he didn't bring us butter. So we had to ding your tip. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I just ignored him the rest of the meal. Like I was giving him no love because it's a principle thing. And I would rather make $0 from them than to give them the satisfaction of like me busting my ass to earn that 20 back.
Yeah. But they're trying to help you, man. That's what you don't understand. They're trying to make you better, Anthony.
Another annoying thing customers would do is they would order a water and they would squirt MIO in there. And that pissed me off. I'm like, you got to order a soda or something. So luckily where I worked, we were very busy. So the customer was not always right. So I asked my manager, hey, this 6-top, they all ordered waters, but they're drinking MIO. And he's like, charge them for soda. That's bullshit. So we charged them for a pitcher of soda. And obviously they were very upset. But what are your thoughts? Do you think a customer should be allowed to use MIO or should they have to pay?
Man, I've actually I've never seen this or been confronted with this question before. So I don't know, man. My gut is actually, I kind of think no, but I get it from the restaurant perspective. I mean, I guess I would argue you're not, it's their Mio. It's not the restaurants. So, I get how it's shitty. I don't think I would do it, but
a 2-liter of soda, is that different? If I bring a 2-liter of Coke, is that different?
yeah, that's definitely different because, well, I mean, yeah, I guess, right. This is interesting. I had never thought about this, right? Because you're right. You wouldn't bring a 2-liter. You wouldn't bring your own drink into a restaurant.
Right. For example, wine, if we're going a little fancier, we had a
right.
So you can bring your own wine, but you got to pay $25. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I guess the I'm almost in my brain thinking of Mio like if you brought sugar packets, or if you had your own like special, maybe Splenda or whatever, and you've just gone out to restaurants so many times and they don't have it, so you bring your own. I guess I'm seeing Mio more like that as an additive rather than the drink. But your point's a fair one about you wouldn't bring a soda in there.
I've had customers bring all kinds of crazy things. I worked in an Italian restaurant in Times Square, and one time this dude ordered a shrimp scampi, and he asked for ranch dressing, which we don't have. He's like, okay. He goes, no, don't worry, I got it. And he pulled it out of his backpack and just smothered his shrimp scampi and ranch. And I was like, I'm not even going to fight you on that one, dude. That's hilarious.
You earned it.
Now, when you cook, do you follow recipes like religiously, or you just kind of say YOLO and just throw it all in there?
For the most part, I'm a pretty strict recipe follower with things like, things I've made a lot. I feel like, steak, like I don't look up how to cook a steak. Like I know how to cook a steak.
Right.
Although I did for a while, but also like I am, I don't know if it's like I don't think it would be OCD, but like I still read the box for the Kraft macaroni and cheese, even though I've probably made that more than any food in my life. I still look at the box every time, even though I know it's like, 4 tablespoons of butter and it's like a quarter cup of milk or whatever. I still like read it, keep checking the box and make sure I'm making it right.
I just buy the fancy, the Super Millionaire, the cheese is already made. It's in that little packet and you just cheese out. That's
Velveeta.
Yeah, the
Fancy
fajita
man.
shells with cheese. I'm very fancy. Upper feast, baby.
I will tell you one of my favorite things to make, and it could only barely qualify as cooking, but I've been making it since college, and it's one of the most satisfying things that I make. And it's just taking the dry ramen noodles
Uh-huh.
and making them, boiling them up, but also making like Campbell's soup, just like cream of chicken or cream of mushroom usually. And I like the creamy ramen noodles. And instead of doing the water-based broth, I put the noodles in the soup and I put the spice packet in the soup and I mix it up, and it takes me like 10 minutes, and it is so stupidly satisfying to me. And it's just literally a can of soup and a packet of ramen.
That sounds really good. My fancy ramen, what I do is I just cook the ramen like normal, throw an egg in there, get that egg cooked, and then just add butter. And sometimes I'll put cheese, but usually just butter and an egg, I feel like is churches it up enough. You seem very chill. Do you ever rage?
Oh yeah, not with like cooking,
Okay.
you know. So just with life in general, maybe, but not in the kitchen. So I am usually my role in the relationship here is sous chef. My wife really enjoys to cook, really enjoys cooking, and does the most of the hard work. But I will often be in the kitchen, helping chop, shred cheese, things like that.
Okay. And then, so if someone were to come to Columbus for the first time, or maybe they live in Columbus, but they're not a foodie, what three
Mhm.
restaurants would you say they have to try?
The first one that popped to mind, I would say Ray Ray's.
Delicious.
Yeah, certainly. We're not one of the famed regional styles of barbecue, but it's so just satisfying. I mean, if you like barbecued meat in good sides, like it's like, I don't think I've ever had a bad meal there. Plus you get the experience factor, particularly if you went to like a place like Land Grant, if it's a nice day and you can get a beer and sit out at the picnic tables. That's a hard, when the weather's right, that's a hard experience to beat.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm trying to think of things that feel distinctly Columbus in some ways. Not that Ray Ray's cooking is specifically Columbus, but it's like, I'm trying to avoid the temptation of saying go to like M or the Refectory or like a nice place. Although people should.
What about like a Thurman's? I feel like Thurman's is pretty Columbus, or like maybe Schmidt's.
Yeah, I was also sort of trying to. So I will do. I'll take the Schmitz idea. Like certainly, like go to Thurman's or Schmitz, but you can find that on the internet, right? Anyone that's going to Google Columbus food is not that you wouldn't find Ray Ray's, but Schmitz and Thurman are probably the two of the first three or four things that are going to come up. Jenny's ice cream
Yeah.
probably going to come up. But I will stick with the German and say I like the Gemüt Beer Garden in over in Old Town East. They do really good German style beer that they make there. But they also have the German food. They have good brats and a sort of German fare. So if you wanted the German experience without maybe the weight
Uh-huh.
of Schmitz, Gemüt is a good place. It's funny. I feel so rusty because I just haven't been going to places.
Yeah.
I think the other one offhand, and this verges maybe a little fancier, but Giuseppe's in Bexley is just a place I love. It's an Italian restaurant. It's like classic old corner Italian restaurant, but the food is just so good. Like if you like Italian food, like I don't think there's a dud on the menu. Their cocktail list is great. They have good bartenders there. It's just another place where I always have like a very good experience. I think of a lot of places in terms of like specific dishes. Like I'll crave a very specific, things that drives a lot of our decision making. I know you asked for three, and I gave you three. So
What pizza place would you suggest for Columbus?
okay, so I like Mikey's. My favorite is honestly like Hound Dogs. We have to drive to get it because they don't deliver to where we're at. But just like when I want just like I just want a pizza. Like when I think of pizza, like I think of something like Hound Dogs. As good as like Harvest or some of the nicer pizza places in town are. That's a different type of pizza craving. I also really like Pizza Hut still. Maybe that's a controversial opinion.
So would you say Pizza Hut above Domino's?
Yeah, as far as the big chains go, like it's I guess it's probably partially nostalgia because like Pizza Hut was like every other Friday in our house growing up. Like one Friday would be Chinese, and then the other Friday would be Pizza Hut. And I still love it. I don't have a foodie defense of it. I think people that don't like it, I don't have a problem with it. But I grew up eating Pizza Hut. I still really enjoy eating Pizza Hut. I don't get it that often, but every now and then I will treat myself with a thick crust, cheese, extra cheese, and pepperoni.
Nice. You ever do the stuffed crust? I'm a stuffed crust guy.
I have certainly plenty of times in the past. I think I've gotten away from it. So as I've gotten older, I have found I am not quite as indulgent as I used to be. We live in the German Village area, and one of the bummers for me is I'm just not a fan of any of I would eat several of the pizza places right near us, but it's just not my choice. It's not if I'm paying, it's not what I want. So we actually oddly do not have like the pizza place that we can just call and say, hey, I'd like a large and some breadsticks. I know there are those places down here, but they're just not. They're not my favorite. So
I feel like I've asked you everything I wanted to ask, but if there's anything that you'd like to say or any kind of story or anecdote or
you know what, Los Gauchos is a good recommendation for people. There's a couple of those around town, and those tacos are great.
You're
So
at
maybe that.
Los Agaves. I 100% recommend it. Los Agaves, phenomenal, super cheap and super delicious.
Is that the one in Clintonville?
Yeah,
I believe you went there recently.
I did. Yes. And the post did well. Thank God. I didn't have to delete my account. Whenever my posts bomb, I always say I have to delete my account, which it's so random, which I know you probably don't care about social media numbers, but I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I try not to care that much, but it is, whether it's just a comment I make or an actual story or something that I've written, you do want that affirmation, to show that you're doing a good job or people appreciate it. So.
And where can people find you on the social medias?
I am on Twitter only because I am I'm on Facebook, but that's more for me and you.
Yeah,
it's not for the people.
Right.
So I am on Twitter at Dan Eaton Biz First, and that's BIZ1ST. I tweet a fair amount about work, but also about movies and beer and pictures of my dogs.